Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So welcome to Srimad Bhagavatam class at ISKCON Naperville. Today is the 27th of January, Saturday. And we are continuing to read from the 12th chapter of the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. And the verses assigned today are text 39, 40, and 41. So I will read text number 39. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Text 39. Itihasa Puranani Panchamam Vedamishwaraha Sarvebhya eva Vaktrebhya Sasraje Sarvadarshanaha. Translation. Then he created the fifth Veda, the Puranas and the Itihasas, from all his mouths, since he could see all of the present, past, and future. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. There are histories of particular countries and nations and of the world. But the Puranas are the histories of the universe, not only in one millennium, but in many kalpas. Brahma has knowledge of those historical facts, and therefore all the Puranas are histories. As originally composed by Brahma, they are part of the Vedas and they are called the fifth Veda. Text 40. Shodashyuktau purva vaktrat Purishiyagnitu tavatha aptoryamatiraucha Vajapeyam sagoshavam. All the different varieties of fire sacrifices, Sodashi, Ukta, Purishi, Agnishtoma, Aptoryama, Atiratra, Vajapeya, and Gosava became manifested from the eastern mouth of Brahma. Text number 41. Vidyadanam tapas satyam dharmasyeti padani cha ashramamscha yatha sankhyam asrajat saha vrittibihi. Education, charity, penance, and truth are said to be the four legs of religion. And to learn this, there are four orders of life with different classifications of castes according to vocation. Brahma created all these in systematic order. The nucleus of the four social orders, Brahmacharya or student life, Grihastha, householder family life, Vanaprastha, retired life of practicing penance, and Sannyas or renounced life of preaching the truth, is the four legs of religion. The vocational divisions are Brahmanas or the intelligent class, Kshatriyas or the administrative class, the Vaishyas or the mercantile productive class, and Shudras or the general laborer class who have no specific qualification. All were systematically planned and created by Brahma for the regular promotion of self-realization. Student life is meant for acquiring the best education. Household family life is meant for gratifying senses, provided it is performed with a charitable disposition of mind. Retirement from household life is meant for penance and for advancement in spiritual life. And renounced life is meant for preaching the absolute truth to the people in general. The combined actions of all members of society make the whole situation favorable for the upliftment of the mission of human life. The beginning of this social institution is based on education meant for purifying the animal propensities of the human being. The highest purificatory process is knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the purest of the pure. So, Hare Krishna. This morning we are reading 39, 40, and 41 verses, and all the three verses have different focus. So I'd like to touch a little bit upon all of those three verses a little bit. The sequence, as we have been hearing, is Lord Brahma is creating, and this is a conversation between Vidura and Maitreya. And so Brahmaji has created his 10 sons. Prior to that, he has created Rudra. Prior to that, he has created the 4 Kumaras. And in between, there was a little bit of, like a speed breaker. There was his senses took him a little bit aside. He came back. And like Krishna says, he was Kshipram Bhavati Dharmatma. Very soon he was established back in the path of Dharma. And now he has created the 4 Vedas from his 4 mouths. And actually, early on in this chapter, I believe it was text 35, it was said that he created the 4 Vedas and he created the principles of religiosity. So right after that, Vidura again asked the question. He's saying, kindly explain to me how and with whose help did Brahma establish these 4, the 4 Vedas and the knowledge. And so again, we see what seems like a repetition of that message. But before that, it is said that he created the 5th Veda, the Puranas and the histories from all his mouths. So I remember from my teacher, Bhakti Vaibhava teacher, he had this detail, he had a table where he said from the northern mouth, this Rig came, from this mouth, eastern mouth, another Veda came, and so on and so forth. But then from the Puranas came from all of those 4 mouths of Lord Brahma, the Puranas and the Itihasas. Thereby my teacher was saying that the Puranas and Itihasas, they hold the essence of all of those 4 Vedas. So the Vedas in themselves may have their own, the 4 Vedas may have their own focus, but the Puranas and Itihasas are like the distillation of all of those 4 Vedas, and they hold the knowledge. So this is something that I heard from my Bhakti Vaibhava teacher. But another thing is that it is said that Jiva Goswami, I have heard that, in the Sattva Tattva Sandarbha, that he establishes Srimad Bhagavatam. And to establish Srimad Bhagavatam as the primary source of acquiring knowledge for us Gaudiya Vaishnavas, he establishes how the Bhagavata Purana is as good as a Veda. So, there are people who say Smritis are not in the same level as Shruti. Shruti is the Veda. So they hold Shruti, meaning the Vedas and the Upanishads, in a higher position than Smriti, which is the Puranas and Itihasas. And so Jiva Goswami, he quotes this particular verse, text number 39, where he says, no, the Smritis and Purana Shrutis they have the same level. You should hold them in the same level of esteem. And why is that? So the example given is, let's say there is a jewelry, like a golden bracelet or something, and the hook has fallen off, which often happens. Would you fix that golden hook with an iron hook? Like if the bracelet is golden, you would put a golden hook over there. So similarly, like there is no incongruity between the Smriti and the Shruti. And so it is said that they have appeared at the same time, and therefore we should hold them in the same esteem as we do Shrutis. And then the next question would be, well, if they are histories, like Itihasa, Mahabharata, and Ramayana are histories. Puranas, they are histories of not just our planet Earth, but the entire that creation. Like it says here, not just this universe, but many universes, not just this kalpas, many kalpas. And so they are history of this universe. And how is that even possible? That is possible because Lord Brahma is Trikalagnya. He can see past, present, and future. So this is key because we need to understand that, kind of like in our science, like when we want to establish our research, right? Like we go to that original source of paper and we say, we are building off of that. So kind of like that, where we are saying our knowledge is based off of Bhagavat Purana, and Bhagavat Purana appeared at the same time from the same Lord Brahma who created those Vedas. So this is established. Then verse number 40, Lord Brahma, from him came all these varieties of sacrifices. So again, understand that these things were created before any living entities were in the universe. So the scene is being created. The scene is being set now. These fire sacrifices, they are established. Again, one may question, why do we need fire sacrifices? So there is the spiritual kingdom, there is the heaven, then there is the earth. Simply put, like the demigods are there who are providing for us. And so the fire sacrifices are to please them. So this is the staircase method, right? Like we hear of the elevator method and the staircase method. And yet this system is there. And so we hear Annad Bhavanti Bhutani Parjanyad Anna Samavaha. So this system of sacrifice is there, and there are varieties of sacrifices for varieties of desires to be fulfilled. Like, for example, we have always heard of the the horse sacrifice, right? Like for establishing, Yudhishthir Maharaj did the horse sacrifice. Here, one other, we have had a prior prime minister by Vajpayee is a yajna, and that is for establishing peace. So Prabhupada doesn't give much details in the purport, but the takeaway from this verse is that Krishna and his representative Brahma, before bringing in all these lost souls into this material world, the Durga, the prison house, they have already created an escape plan for us. How merciful is that, right? An escape plan is being created for us even before we are brought into the prison. All we have to do is look into that escape plan. And we are given two kinds of plans. One is the slow, steady staircase method, or this quick escalator method, or the elevator method. And again, we find people in India who are very much into Vedic sacrifices or who are very much into study of the Vedas. So now, and what I want to imply is that both have their places, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about it in our next verse. So in verse number 41, these four legs of religion are being spoken about: education, charity, penance, and truth. And it's a very beautiful purport that Prabhupada, again, so many things can be spoken about from this particular verse. So Prabhupada calls this as the nucleus, the Brahmacharya, Vanaprastha, Grahastha, and the Sannyas as the nucleus. Like this is the four legs of religion, and the training for each of those four religions, the four legs, happen in these different stages of life, like the focus. So, when for a young person who is in Brahmacharya, in that stage of life, what is primary for them? The primary element is you're training them, you're educating them. And, this education is not just about, as we understand, we all know it's not the material education, but it's the development of qualities. How are those qualities developed? It is by coming in contact with the Supreme Pure. we are like wet wood. We don't catch fire. But by being next to fire, that wet wood, gradually becomes dry wood and then can immediately catch fire. So through this process of Shravanam and Kirtanam, it is like sitting by the fire. Our wet wood, the consciousness, which is like wet wood, slowly becomes dry wood. And it can now be used in Krishna's service and lighting that fire. And so the quality, the focus of this particular stage of life is purity. And we understand, we've heard from Bhagavad Gita, this purity again can be, there is goodness, passion, and ignorance. So we are coming through those stages, purifying our consciousness through those different stages to come to this level from where this dry wood can immediately catch the spark and immediately light into fire. So I wanted to point that out. And then the name is escaping me at the moment, but perhaps somebody can help me. In the Upanishad, there is this student who goes to his teacher and the teacher says, "What is your gotra?" And he says, he goes to his mother and his mother says, I do not know your gotra because you could have any one of those fathers. Can anyone remind me of that pastime, that story from Upanishad? It's just escaping me at the moment.
I don't know what you're looking for that, but I mean, I was thinking Guru will ask, right? What is your gotra? And then he says, I don't know. I mean, after checking with his mother, then he could be a
Yes.
Brahmana, right? Is because the only person who can tell the truth, right?
Right.
What
That
is that?
story, I'm forgetting at the moment. Maybe it'll come to me. But basically, the point is that when he goes back to the guru and he says, "I'm sorry, I do not know my guru, Gotra, and this is my name." And so the guru accepts him because there is simplicity in his heart, and he says, "You know what? You have
Kama
all
Jabala.
yes, Satyakama Jabala. Thank you, Prabhu." So he says, "My name is Satyakama Jabala because this is my mother and this is my name, and this is how you can address me." And so the guru accepts him, saying, "You have the first qualification of a Brahmana, and therefore I accept you." So we have heard from Bhagavad Gita how, it is one's quality and one's work which determines our Varnashrama, the Varna. And so this is the starting of a brahmacharya. This is inculcating purity in our mind, inculcating purity in our speech, and inculcating purity in our thoughts and action. So this is step number one. Then once that is happening, then, I was reading that then the guru assesses, is he able to continue in this stage of brahmacharya? And Prabhupada says, I was reading somewhere else, Prabhupada says that, I have seen one such brahmachari, a Naishtika brahmachari, and that is his own spiritual master, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So anyway, this assessment is made, and then if the spiritual master decides that this student will be protected when he is in Grahastha ashrama, then he is married. So there is this pastime of Srila Prabhupada, where a young couple, they just got married. They go to Srila Prabhupada and they ask him, "Prabhupada, now that we are married, could you please guide us? What is our duty? What is our role in this society?" So Srila Prabhupada says, after you cook your meal and you offer it to Krishna, go outside your door and call out, "Is there anyone that hasn't eaten? If so, please do come." So the disciple thought perhaps Prabhupada did not understand him. And so they repeated. And Prabhupada gave the same instruction. And again, the same instruction. And so Prabhupada then explains that a primary duty of a grahastha is charity. So again, we understand in this whole scheme of things, grahastha is the only one who earns money. He is the only one who has possessions. He's the only one who has this leeway to, as in the purport says that to kind of enjoy his senses. So there is this tendency to become proud, that because he is the possessor of wealth. Again, there is a story that comes to my mind. My spiritual master, he was saying in one lecture how he was traveling in a train decades ago from Jagannath Puri to Mayapur, I think. And, as he was setting up his, the Indian train berth, right? As he was setting up the berth to rest for the night, a man kept looking at him like he was, Maharaj says he could feel it, the energy, this negative energy. So Maharaj looked at this man, and the man looked at him, and he spoke, saying, he spoke offensively, but something to the point that you are like leeches in the society. You are drawing off of my hard-earned wealth. People who earn wealth, these sannyasis and brahmacharis are like that. You're drawing off of our energy, the wealth that we have created. So this is what a grahastha should not be, right? What happens when there is pride in our heart that we earn wealth, we have these resources, we have this ability, we have this capacity to increase the GDP of our country, and everybody else is bringing down the GDP. When that happens, when pride is there, it leads to cruelty. It leads us to cruelty in our speech, in our actions, and in our thoughts. So what is the counterbalance? The counterbalance is what Prabhupada is telling his young couple here, disciples. That is charity. It is to go out and with the understanding that these resources, the capacity to work, and the money, everything is coming from the Supreme Lord. And therefore, a part of it needs to be in serving those other classes of society. So charity is an antidote to, grahasthashramas, our position. That is a necessity. So just like in a brahmacharya life, education is a necessity. And by this process of education, developing cleanliness and developing purity, that's a necessity. Similarly, in the next stage of life, grahastha charity is what needs to be cultivated and needs to be done. And then we have also seen time and time again from our scriptures how, and Prabhupada also showed us by his example, when the family is settled, when the children have grown up, when the wife is taken care of, you'll go off and do vanaprastha, become a vanaprastha. And again, this is for taking up austerities, taking up penances. Again, another story comes to my mind. This was also told by my spiritual master in one of his classes, that he visited one particular couple, very senior couple, and when he went to their home, as he was going to wash his hands, there was this cupboard, very simply kept, 2 plates, 2 tumblers, 2 spoons, 2 cups. That's about it, nothing more than that. And so there are people like that who live very, very simply. In our present condition, we may not be able to go to Vana to lead a Vanaprastha life, but even in our situations where we live in cities and towns, it is still possible to lead that Vanaprastha life, like this particular couple had shown by their example. So what is being stressed in Vanaprastha? It is austerity. Now, again, this is where Srimad Bhagavad Gita, talks about penances, penance and sacrifice, how even that can be done in 3 modes of nature. So austerity in goodness, austerity of the body is worshipping the Supreme Lord, worshipping the Brahmanas, worshipping the spiritual master, superiors in cleanliness, simplicity, and celibacy. Austerity of speech consists of speaking words that are truthful, pleasing, beneficial, and not agitating to others, and regularly reciting the Vedic literature. And austerity, performing austerity where you don't expect any material benefits, but only engaging it for the sake of the Supreme, are austerities in goodness. Whereas when we do those austerities for the sake of gaining respect, for honor, for gaining, worship from others, that is not stable or permanent. And Krishna says that it is in passion. And when we do an austerity for self-torture or for destruction or injury of others, that is in ignorance. And, we have seen examples like Hiranyakashipu or Ravana. So the same austerity can be in mode of goodness, passion, or ignorance. And when it is done in connection with the Supreme Lord, it transcends those. Finally, coming to sannyasa. In sannyasa, the primary purpose is speaking about truth, the supreme absolute truth, and not just for the sake of oneself, for the sake of the upliftment of the whole society. So when this is done, like this particular verse, it says, the combined actions of all these members of society makes the whole situation favorable for the upliftment of the mission of human life. And we may remember, Prabhupada writes a beautiful line, I think in the introduction to Bhagavatam, he says that somewhere there is a pinprick within the social body. And this Srimad Bhagavatam is being presented for the re-spiritualization of this misguided civilization. Right? So this whole structure of Varnashrama has been given for the re-spiritualization of not just for us, but for the entire society. And I wanted to point out that, there are many references where Prabhupada will talk about this. I just want to take a few minutes to say, this is my understanding. Why is this Varnashrama given? And we also understand there is this eternal religion, right? What we understand as Bhagavata Dharma. So there is Varnashrama Dharma and there is Bhagavata Dharma. Bhagavata Dharma is this elevated level where our consciousness is quickly and steadily raised to this platform where we can be servants of the Supreme Lord, pure servants of the Supreme Lord. Varnashrama Dharma is the staircase method. And why is there a need? And I was thinking that is because of the nature of us as spirit souls. So, because we are in this tatastha shakti, where we can be in the material or in the spiritual realm. For example, when you're walking by the shore of an ocean, as you're walking, yes, you'll see this is sand. But then immediately the wave comes and you'll think this is water. So it is this tata, how we hear Yamuna tata chara gopi vashanahara. So this tata where the Lord Vrindavan, he is saying how the Lord walks by the banks of the river Yamuna. That bank is tata. So we are in this tatastha shakti where we can go here or we can go there. So, of course, our scriptures can say, take Bhagavata Dharma and that is all in all. But we have this tendency to be on this side or on that side. So it is for these people. So this is my understanding and my appreciation is that our scriptures are all inclusive. They want to include people of all consciousness, all levels of consciousness, right? And so it is to be inclusive and to take everyone along with us. This Varnashrama Dharma is given. Because you would often, I was reading this Krishna Kathamrita Bindu yesterday, and, when I searched for Varnashrama, Prabhupada says, in one conversation, he's saying, 50% of my work is remaining because Varnashrama is not established. And yet he also says that you don't need Varnashrama. I have given you everything, this process of chanting and hearing, and, you can go with this. So we hear both. And my understanding is that, for people like me, where I don't have simple wants, like, I don't have simple needs. I have my wants, and, I have with a click of a button, I can get everything that I want. And for me, if I'm asked to do, go to a farm and lead a simple life, perhaps it may not happen. And for souls like me, I will be lost in that system. And so there is also this, this leeway that is given for souls like us, where we can gradually progress, where there is protection of our consciousness. And I too have a shot at achieving the service of lotus feet of the Lord. I have many things to share, but I mean, my thoughts are a little scattered, but I wanted to come back and tie those three things. In verse number 39, we saw that Puranas and Itihasas are of the same nature as Smritis, Shrutis. So that, and in verse 40, we saw that sacrifices have been, given by Brahmaji. And the point to take away from is that our escape route has been given for us. Our escape plan has been given for us even before we come into this material world. And in this, we are seeing how he's bringing these, there is these four legs of religion. Mercy, which which is to be exemplified by a grahastha, by performing charity. Then the next is education, where purity is cultivated. That is to be, that's the focus of brahmacharis. Penance or austerity, that is to be cultivated, and especially this is a focus for vanaprasthas. And truthfulness, especially in the form of propagating the supreme absolute truth. This is for sannyas ashrama. So I will pause there and see if you have any corrections or any thoughts. Please do share.
Hare Krishna, Mathaji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All good to Srupad.
Mine too.
It's definitely you have a lot of knowledge and wisdom that you shared in last 15 minutes. Of course, I don't have any correction or things like that, but thank you for sharing everything that you know. It was very, very helpful for me.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you so much. Yeah, for putting this into perspective of, Prabhupada, the kind of contradictory statements, right, in different places. So, of course, our scriptures are all inclusive. Prabhupada, the time that he had was, very limited, right? He did whatever he could, right? So, to highest degree, if he would have focused on the other side, we would have lost into that, right? As you said, the Varnashram Dharma would have lost into it if you would have focused on that. But yeah, he focused on the ultimate thing. But there are people in the society, if we want to expand it, beyond, what we have today or what we'll be having in near future, the whole population. So, we need that, right? Prabhupada has had that vision. So, yeah. So how our scriptures are all inclusive. I think that's how even Brahma started with the, different methods, right? So elevator method and then the staircase method. So yeah, Prabhupada did one thing and the other thing is still pending.
Right. And we have examples in Hungary
Yeah,
and Goa
that's
I haven't visited both of those places, but I read about them and
mm,
like to visit them one day. Yeah.
okay.
I actually have friends from my homeschooling community too who have left their city life and they've
Mm,
taken up, my American friends, and, their sense of how their farm life looks will be very different from how it is
mm,
presented here in Varnashrama. But what it shows to me is that there are people who have that propensity. For them, it is important. Like one of my cousin's husband left his job, well-paying job, and he does this. So there are people who have that propensity, and therefore even that can be dovetailed in Krishna service. So I actually wanted to sing a song and I completely forgot about it because I was thinking, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, how can I'm sure he has written something about this. And so when I searched for it, and indeed he has written. So if with your permission, I would like to just take 1 minute, 1 or 2 minutes. Can I, Prabhu?
yes, Mataji, go ahead. Yeah, we have time for today.
Okay. So this is from a book called Gita Mala, and it has 5 sections. In the first section, I just learned that, it is from Yamunacharya's teachings. He has written these songs. So one of the song goes like this. Stri Purusha Deha Gata Varna Adi Dharma Jata ताहे पुनः देहगत भेदा सत्वरजस्तमो गुणा आश्रये चे भेद पुनः हे रूप सहस्र प्रभेदा. So translation is, O my Lord, I know that all bodily distinctions between female and male, as well as the divisions of Varnashrama system, namely Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, Brahmachari, Grahastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyas, are all simply materialistic distinctions based on bodily consciousness. And all these fall under the jurisdiction of the modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance. And thus, all these bodily discriminations multiply into thousands of different complicated classifications. So this is so Bhaktivinoda Thakur's songs are beautiful because he starts from our level where we are, and then he shows us where we need to go. So then in paragraph 2, he says, whatever type of body I happen to live in, whatever circumstantial position surrounds this particular body, I now offer all these things unto your lotus feet. O Lord of my life, from now on, I am no longer responsible for anything related to my very existence. Therefore, please protect and maintain me, O Lord, for I am but your eternal humble servant. Bhakti Vinod is just informing you that I'm living always absorbed in the curious amusement of the transcendental loving service attitude. So I thought it was very relevant to where we were, that he's showing us where we are and where we need to go. And he's talked about every single topic. So sorry, I wanted to bring that in. I forgot about that before. So any other thoughts? Okay. So if there's nothing else, we can end here. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Anantakoti Vaishnavarind ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you so much.
Hare Krishna.